name's Matt Cornish, and I've been very fortunate over the last 14 years to work with saltwater crocodiles in a captive situation. Also, I've worked as a tour guide and wildlife educator throughout the wet tropics area. For me, when it comes to estuarine crocodiles, I think they are just the perfect animal. I'm deeply fascinated by them after observing a lot of their physical adaptations over the years of evolution, and we've seen these animals that can hold their breath for 7 hours, relatively undetected in a waterway, and can go for extended periods, including up to a year without food. These animals are absolute perfect. Estuarine crocodiles inhabit coastal waterways between the Wet Tropics World Heritage Area and the Great Barrier Reef. So they are essentially an apex predator, a keystone species that links these two vital areas. As an indiscriminate and opportunistic feeder throughout this mangrove habitat, estuarine crocodiles create balance by feeding on all sorts of huge variety of different animals throughout this area. Without their presence, there would be an influx of one animal and then the loss of another animal, and this creates ecological imbalance. So the estuarine crocodile is incredibly important to keep a nice level playing field. Estuarine crocodiles that live in coastal waterway areas, and they're actually feeding on feral pigs. And by feeding on feral pigs, they're ensuring that that pig is not causing any more damage to our critical rainforest habitat. Estuarine crocodiles are the largest reptiles on Earth. They're an incredibly prehistoric, well-evolved animal. They are sneaky, they are powerful, and they're incredibly dangerous. Crocodiles have obviously adapted and evolved to be able to stalk and sneak up on their food, and this unfortunately includes people. Between the 1940s and the 1970s, crocodiles were hunted to almost extinction. It's estimated that approximately 95% of our estuarine crocodiles in Australia were hunted. So that means we were down to our last 5% of these animals throughout far north Queensland and also into the top end of Australia. There's a misconception that crocodiles are moving into areas in which they have not previously occupied. These are animals that have been hunted to near extinction all the way up until the 1970s, and they're returning to their waterways in which they previously lived. Unfortunately, over that time, people have moved into these coastal areas. They've built houses, they've begun swimming, canoeing, water skiing and kayaking all over these coastal areas, and now crocodiles are returning. This is not crocodile populations spreading, infesting waterways. This is simply animals returning to a habitat in which they've lived for millions of years. Earlier this year, the government recommended the removal of a modest number of adult crocodiles between Port Douglas and Ayr. This is approximately 400 kilometres of coastal waterways, and it's going to result in the mass removal of adult estuarine crocodiles. This is a huge problem, because in far north Queensland, when people hear that crocodiles are being removed, there will be an increased level of complacency. More people will think it's safer to interact in crocodile habitat in these coastal waterway areas, and unfortunately, we believe that there will be an increase in crocodile attacks. When it comes to preventing crocodile attacks, I think education is the fundamental. This is the step forward. If we can educate our tourists, our next generation, and even our locals on crocodile behaviour and how to behave around crocodile areas, then we will be able to prevent attacks in the future. It's all about education opposed to eradication. Working in the tourism sector, we see people as they witness an estuarine crocodile in the wild for the first time in their life. The awe on their face, the energy that they give out when they experience these animals is just breathtaking. It's so incredibly rewarding to see people admiring these animals in a natural habitat. We can utilise these animals as an economic resource through our tourism sector. People come from around the world. Photographers, conservationists, and people that are just generally interested in wildlife come here to see these animals in their natural habitat.